Hello, this is Dr. G. Talley. I'm coming at you. I'm going to do my presentation is Travel Light Part 2. If you hadn't seen Travel Light Part 1, feel free to go on, you can find it on YouTube. Just look up Dr. Jacob G. Talley on YouTube, and you can watch Travel Light 1. Travel Light 2, we're going to, Travel Light 1, we cover grief, and now we're going to cover guilt. In our travel, we are on a journey in life, and we travel. And as we travel, we have a bag, and we carrying this bag. And in order to travel light and travel easy, that bag got to be, at a light weight that you can handle. Well, as life goes on, we have a lot of things that go on in our life that we carry in this bag. And in the professional term, is considered trauma. We have some of us have a lot of trauma in our life and don't even know that we have it. We're addressing guilt. A lot of us have guilt, and there's guilt that you have control over, and then there's guilt that you don't have control over. But there's ways that you can manage both. We're going to, guilt. We're going to say that for each guilt or each thing that you feel guilty about in your life, let's say it weighs 50 pounds. And the guilt that you can't control, that weighs 100 pounds. Now, if you only weigh 150 pounds, you ain't got much room to be carrying guilt on your journey with you. So I'm going to try to help you out here with guilt that you can control. The guilt, some of the guilt that you can control, or you had the ability to control it. Let's say there's people feel guilty about stealing somebody's man or stealing somebody's woman. There's some people that feel guilty about robbing the liquor store. There's some people feel guilty about, a lot of things, and how they had control over that guilt. You have control over whatever you're feeling guilty about. On that level, is all you have to do is repent. In simple thing, I'm sorry. If you repent and say that you're sorry and you really mean it, you're forgiven. In Luke 15, verse 7, it says, there will be more rejoice in heaven over one sinner repent than over 99 righteous people who do not need to repent. So, that's all you have to do. When you feeling guilty, The reason why you feel guilty is because you are punishing yourself. God is not punishing you because He gives you the ability to be forgiven. Sometimes we are so hard on ourselves that we won't forgive ourselves, and our punishment to ourselves is it can be more severe than what God would give us, for something that we did. So when you do something out of pocket, first, before you even do it, think about what you're doing. And you got to remember, anything that you do, if you're feeling guilty about it and you feel that you're wrong, before you even do it, it may help for you to think about the consequences and repercussions of your action before you even do it, because it's going to come. You know, you know, when Cain when Cain killed Abel, Cain he repented and he asked for forgiveness. He prayed and he was fearful of the repercussions and consequences of what he did. And in Genesis 4, verse 13, verse 14, Cain prayed for mercy and was given mercy, but he still had to accept the repercussions and consequences of his actions. And Cain he had to do what he had to do, but anything we do in life, there are some consequences for everything that we do, even good or bad. But quit beating yourself up to the point where the guilt push you into depression. It can even push you into suicidal thoughts. So don't be so hard on yourself. Just don't be doing the same old mess over and over again, because it ain't gonna work. Because there's a reason why punishment are in place, so that you can learn from your action, and you should fear the repercussions and consequences of certain things that you do. So as for guilt that we carry, that we have no control over, that we're going to say that weighs 100 pounds, because that guilt that we have no control over, it is heavy. I mean, it is extremely heavy. Example of some of the guilt that we carry, when somebody passed on unexpectedly, when, and that's one of the most common guilt that we carry, because we always think in our mind, have we been there? I should have done this to stop it in that. It should have been me. With that thinking and you punishing yourself for what somebody else did, you being too hard on yourself for all you know, if you've been at this the bank when Johnny was robbing the bank and the police shot Johnny, what was you going to do to stop that? If you was there when so-and-so got beaten to death, how was you going to stop it? You know, so your feeling, or let's say somebody passed in a car accident, what make you think if you were there that was going to change? You got to remember, we all on individual journey, and what meant for one person's journey, that doesn't don't necessarily that was meant for you. You know, so quit beating yourself up over over things that you have no control over. You know, you got to have the wisdom to know the things that you can change and know the things that you can't change. You know, so we you know, in when you don't forgive yourself, as I said before, you take yourself into a deep, dark place. It leads you to depression. It leads you to suicide. And when you go into depression, you living whatever trauma that you are going through, you living it over and over and over again. And it's just taking you deeper, deeper into that hole. You know, so you got to learn to accept whatever trauma in your life, accept it. And no, you're not going to forget it, but be able to come to terms with it. You know, if it's a loved one that you lost so tragically, you know, I have lost a lot of people in my life. And, you know, sometimes, you know, I get a little sad. You know, there's been a couple of times, you know, I took time to let all that build up, and I released it, you know, and had a good cry. But after I finished, I thought about some of the stuff that we had done together, and laughed and whatnot, and I'm back smiling again. But I don't hold on to something, and I don't take responsibility for something that happened to somebody else, you know, because that's not my burden, to carry their burden. Yes, I am my brother's keeper, but I'm not responsible for something, my brother is responsible for what he does. It's his journey. That's not for me to carry that person a burden. That's not something that I should feel guilty and carry that with me, because that person, if they pass, whatever they did is settled. Why are you continue to carry guilt for somebody that it's already been settled, paid in full? Maybe the penalty was for them to pass on in order for them to find peace within themselves. So you're going to have to find peace in yourself. And in Matthew 11, verse 28, verse 30, It said, "Come to me, all who labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and lowly in heart, and you will rest for your soul. For your yoke is easy and my burden is light." God is giving you permission to give it to Him. Don't carry all that weight. Give it to God, and move on with your life. Because when you go into depression, you affecting everybody else around you. Your mother, your father, your kids, your grandkids. Everybody around you is affected by how you operate your life. So when you think about, let's say you think about suicide, before you think about that pulling that trigger, you better think about what you leaving behind and how it's going to affect the loved one that you are leaving behind. Because now you passing your burden on down to them. I challenge you to get up out of your bedroom, put that food to the side, get your butt up, wash your behind, and get out there and live. And with that, I'm going to close. I see questions in the chat, and I'm going to do a question. After I handle the question in the chat for anybody that have a question. Question number one: If forgiven, why is there punishment? Well, the reason why there's punishment is because, as I said, you have to be responsible, accountable for everything that you do. There's repercussion and consequences in life. It's in place so that you don't continually keep doing the same thing over and over again. And hey, I ain't worried. Ain't nothing going to happen to me. With you knowing that there's some consequences, it will at least make you think before you do it. The other question is burden and guilt the same? Burden and guilt can go hand in hand. For a burden, the definition is a load that which is borne, weight, charge, duty. Guilt is crime, sin, moral defect. So it works hand in hand. So, so in a sense, yes, they are the same. So I hope I answered both of you guys' question there. Do anybody have a question in the audience?
Yes, sir, Dr. Talley. I have a question, and I'm glad that last question was actually asked about the burden and guilt. One of my questions was going to be related more towards, you didn't talk about it, but grudges and overcoming how I guess they could be similarly answered, but specifically if you're the type of person that has been burdened by holding a lot of grudges and carrying that around, how different or is it similar in letting go of that kind of situation? Because from what I'm understanding from your talk is that could lead to a different kind of, or be brought on because of a different kind of trauma. sort of, if you understand what my question is.
Yes. With grudges, you got to be willing to forgive. You know, grudges can turn into holding a grudge. It hurt you more than the person that you have a grudge with, because it's in you. It's destroying you emotionally. You don't have to necessarily forgive that person for them. I mean, you forgiving somebody for yourself. Because when you hold a grudge is like cancer, man. It continues to grow and grow. And if you hold a grudge long enough, you'll wind up hating that person. And at some point, if you hate somebody bad enough, it will give you thoughts of, killing that person. Then what good that's going to do for you? Because if you kill that person, now you're dealing with repercussion and consequences of your action. Don't let somebody control your emotions. You hold on to your emotion and let it go, but don't let that person back in your life, or put that person in a position to do the same thing again to you. There's an old song by Usher, "Let It Burn." And brother, let it go. I hope that helped you a little bit there, brother.
Yes, sir, that did. I appreciate it. Great conversation. I enjoyed part one, and I'm getting a lot out of this one as well. Appreciate it.
I appreciate you, my brother. Any yes, sir.
How
Dr. Lee.
how does one forgive themselves? Is that a process?
It's a process. Sometimes, in a lot of cases, you would have to get some type of professional counseling and help to do it. Because, as I said, we are our own worst enemies when it comes to forgiveness. Sometimes our penalty is more harsh than what God gave Cain. If we was to set the penalty for our transgression to ourselves, we may be even harder on ourselves, because Cain could have got death. Now, if we don't forgive ourselves and be so hard on ourselves, we may that's the reason why suicide happens, because we are so unforgiving to ourselves, to the point we what's that? Not charge ourselves, but we sentence ourselves to death when we may not, that penalty may not have been necessary if somebody else sentenced us. So we so hard on ourselves, where to the point where we are unforgiving to ourselves. But you got to, in order to forgive yourself, you have to pray to yourself. You have to, God is in you. So when I say pray to yourself, you pray to yourself. You ask for forgiveness, and if you ask for forgiveness, you shall be forgiven. Understand that if you ask for forgiveness, you shall be forgiven. If God forgive you, why wouldn't you persecute yourself to the point where you don't forgive yourself? You already been forgiven. Just don't, when you ask for forgiveness, just don't keep doing the same mess over and over again and ask for forgiveness, because if you do that, you didn't really you didn't learn anything from it, and you didn't mean it when you ask for forgiveness. If you keep doing the same crap over and over again, but it's a long process as far as forgiveness is concerned. As I said, God already forgave you because you asked for it. It says it in the Bible. The value that you have as far as forgiving yourself is forgiving yourself. And you may, in most cases, you have to, you may need professional counseling to guide you through that process. A lot of people can't do it on their own. That's the reason why when they try to do it on their own, that's the reason why they commit suicide, because they can't deal with it.
Excellent. I appreciate that. I got another question for you. If you're carrying someone else's guilt around, could you consider that as dragging around someone else's debt?
Yes, sir. It definitely is. You dragging somebody else's back, and you traveling. You already, as I said, the guilt that you carry, in I estimate it as 100 pounds to your back. You carrying somebody else's guilt along with the guilt that you carrying. Man, that's 200 pounds. You only weighing 150, and you traveling. It's going to get to a point where you just stop in your tracks, and you just give up, and that's where the danger of going into depression, in suicidal thought, because the weight is so heavy on you, and you put it on yourself because yes, you're carrying somebody else's debt, and they whatever happened, if it resulted in the death to them, the debt is paid. It's paid in full. So why are you carrying somebody else's debt? And it's already paid.
Well said. Well said. That's it for me in the questions. You've answered my questions.
I have one question, Dr. Talley. Now,
Yes, sir.
When forgiving someone and not forgetting that they did it to you, how do you supposed to evolve yourself around them when you have to see that person?
You don't have to be around that person. You choose to be around that person. If you forgive them, and yes, you are not supposed to forget, because you will allow that person to turn around and do the same thing again. Now, if it's necessary for you to be around that person, you have to set boundaries with that person. Let them understand, make them understand, look, what's in the past is in the past, but you will not be allowed to do this, do that, and the other. If you cross that line, if you cross that boundary, you will be cut off from me. Now, if that person respects what you say to them and fully understands what the boundaries are, they're not going to cross it. But if they do, you got to be willing to let them go because, most people are destroyed by the people that are closest to them. So you have to make that decision whether you make yourself available to be destroyed within.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
You're welcome, Dr. Ratu. I appreciate you, my brother. Well, with that being said, I appreciate you, all you guys question, and I thank you guys for being patient with technical difficulties that I had occurred, and you guys are wonderful. And anytime you feel the need to talk to me, I'm there for you. Travel light, my brothers and sisters.